I post some half decent stuff on Instagram and whatnot, stuff that I'm kind of happy with. But for every half decent thing I post, there's a lot that's total rubbish.
Right.
And you've got to just sort of let that go and accept that not everything is going to be a masterpiece.
Hey, welcome to Arts and Cast, the show where we take a sneak peek into other artists' screens and into their process. Each artist that comes on the show has 45 minutes to create a piece of artwork from scratch. Today on the show we have Mike Giblin, who is a caricature artist, and today's show is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to actually screen share with Mike, we're going to have a camera that's peeking over his shoulder as he draws a random celebrity, so it's going to be largely a traditional process, but it's going to be a great episode. Let's check it out. So just to run through it, I think there was Gene Wilder, there was Usain Bolt, and Caitlin Olsen.
Yes. And I'm gonna reveal now. Spoiler alert! I am gonna do Gene Wilder again.
Nice. Okay.
And I'm gonna explain why. Basically, when I'm drawing anybody, no, that's not true. If I'm working on a celebrity or someone from a film or something like that. I like to have a good kind of working knowledge of what they look like in the first place. I'm sort of aware of Usain Bolt clearly, like everybody is, but I'm not kind of overly familiar with his face and his features and things like that. The lady, she's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is that who she is? Yeah. I've never actually seen it, so again, I've googled her and I've got a good idea of what she looks like, but. Again, if I sort of launch into a caricature, I kind of want to have a bit more familiarity about the person before I do that. And also, I love Gene Wilder and I love 80s movies, so that's
lovely.
I probably would have drawn him again at some point anyway. But I've deliberately, the last one I did of him was sort of, again, it was some stir crazy, and he was sort of good like that. Yeah. I've deliberately gone with a different expression and try to do something a little bit different because I don't like to repeat myself.
Cool.
But the last one was probably one of those. I'm kind of.
He's great.
I've dialed that back a little bit. I'm not gonna do anything that extreme this time.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Are you ready to go? And I'll start the clock.
Yeah. Right, Gene Wilder. Okay. So I'm looking at the reference here. I'm kind of veering towards this one here. I like his kind of sad, doleful look that he's got here. Yeah. Okay. Well, basically, when I'm starting any caricature, I always start with the overall shape of the head. I'm sort of making those observations, and I just whack down some sort of oval or some sort of circle. Some people have a square head. Yeah. With Gene, I can see he's very much got a long sort of oval. So I'm going to start with that. Okay. And I literally just whack something like that in. And then I like to look for the center line of the face. Okay. For the center line, and I kind of whack a line in for where the eyes are as well. Mm-hmm. He's got these big sad eyes which are quite close set, so I'm going to just whack these here. And again, I'm not worrying about the shape of anything at this point in time. I'm literally just trying to figure out where everything is on the face. Mm-hmm. The thing about caricature is it's as much about what you leave out as what you put in.
Interesting.
So I mean, if something barely registers to the eye, I mean, I just tend to leave it out. I start with the oval as a kind of a frame, a kind of guide to hook all the features on. And I frequently go out of that, and it sort of goes off in a different direction and things. And
it's just a starting point, right?
It is a starting point, yeah. Now, a very important part of Gene's face, he's got these sad eyebrows, so it's like that. And just pouch out those cheeks a little bit more. I like what his eyes are doing a bit more now. He's got that little tip at the end of his nose. And again, I don't like to get too precious about things at this stage. I mean, I do an awful lot of sketches where I kind of faff around like this, and after a while I think, it's not really, I haven't got the likeness, so it's not really going anywhere, and I'll just leave it. Right. But more often than not, if you persist with something and just chip away at it, you kind of get close to the likeness after a while. What I'm going to do now is, I don't do this a lot. Sometimes I use one colour and I kind of go straight in with a dark graphite or a pencil, When I feel there's a lightness there, but I need to tighten it up a little bit more, I'll go in with a second colour.
Okay.
Now people ask a lot, why do you use coloured pencils? Main part of it is I like the feel of coloured pencils on paper. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. But also it means that if I do want to clean up the sketch later, I can scan it into Photoshop and I can just knock out the colour altogether. Yeah. And what I'm left with is a dark pencil sketch or a graphite sketch. Yeah. And that's a much cleaner drawing to be the basis for something, you know.
Nice. A bit of an animator's trick, that, isn't it? The whole blue pencil thing.
You do see that in animation, yeah.
So would you say the likeness is the sort of most important time for kind of dialing in that likeness is in the early stages of that sketch, or is it in the kind of polishing stages of the sketch?
It's in the early stages, definitely. You know, if you don't sort of nail a kind of solid drawing, a solid lightness, certainly as far as I'm concerned, no matter how much I polish it and you know, work on the shading and things like that, it's never gonna
get there.
It's never gonna get beyond that. Yeah. I mean, so I like that to be a strong design. I use that word a lot, design, because I do sort of see faces as designs, and that's a philosophy I like to take into my live work as well. It's like when no matter who's sitting in front, I'm trying to make everybody different and not do the same thing twice. Just something you see a lot of live caricaturists doing, is just same stuff over and over. I try not to do that. Right. You see in this photo, he's very dark around the eyes, so already I'm going to just start with some basic shading around the eyes there. Yeah.
So I've noticed it's on your social, these kind of moments, these little claims to fame that you've had. One being the Piers Morgan card on his morning show. Oh, yeah. And then also meeting Ant and Dec, who are from your neck of the woods, right?
I think Ant called us an arsehole. I did these caricatures beforehand from photographs because I knew I was going to this charity event and they were going to be there. Yeah. So I took them, framed prints for themselves, and I had them sign a couple for me to take home.
Nice.
And I had my photo taken with both of them, but just before the photo was taken, I called Dec a sexy bastard, and he burst out laughing, and that's what's in the photograph.
Yeah, I saw that
little moment.
Well, I'm sure you're not the last person or the first person to exaggerate Ant and Dec's forehead. So they probably have to deal with that quite a lot.
Foreheads. Ant's got the monster, but I mean, they've both got quite large foreheads. Yeah. Dec's definitely the harder of the two to draw. I mean, Ant's quite straightforward, but Dec's got a much more subtle face than that. It's an interesting one, that, because it's something that comes up a lot when I'm talking to people about caricatures and likeness and all that. And a lot of people do say, so do you just give everyone, do you pick on one thing and make it bigger? I know it's not exactly what you're saying, but it is something that people say a lot of. Someone's got a big nose, do you just make that massive? Right. There's a bit more to it than that. It's if you just make one thing huge, and you don't kind of focus on anything else on the face, you're still going to miss the lightness. Yeah. Everything has to work in harmony. Yeah. I mean, and there needs to be sort of action-reaction kind of thing. If you make one thing bigger, something else has to become smaller. And
gotcha.
All that sort of stuff. There's got to be... There's like one of my favourite artists is a guy called Tom Richmond, and he's got a book called The Mad Art of Caricature. And in that he talks about... you can imagine like a balloon full of water, and if you squeeze the top, all the mass goes into the bottom. If you squeeze the bottom, all the mass goes into the top. Yeah. And that's kind of the basics of the essence of caricature there. You know, for everything you make bigger, you've got to make something smaller, otherwise you just end up with a face that's got lots of big things on it, you know?
I see, yeah. Very cool. Well, I kind of, I noticed from some of the celebrities that you've done, that you've repeated on. So I know you've done like Arnold Schwarzenegger a few times, and some other celebrities that every time you do them, they're completely different, you know, but they still have a likeness. So there's almost like different ideas about one person, right?
There's many ways to draw people. I mean, certainly when it comes to caricature, I used to go to these big caricature conventions every year. Haven't been for a long time since starting a family and all that, but these big get-togethers of caricaturists in America once a year. It's a week-long thing where all the artists get together, draw each other, just have a laugh for a week.
Yeah.
And there's an awards ceremony and things like that.
Wow.
It's an organisation called ISCA, International Society of Caricature Artists.
Okay.
But it's the point I'm making is all the artists draw each other, and they put all the drawings on their little bit of wall on the last day of the week. And it's incredible just how many different styles and approaches there are amongst caricaturists, but it still looks like that person.
Yeah.
It's there are just so many sort of stylistic.
It's not the simple one approach thing that I think a lot of people assume it is.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Right. So what I'm doing here now is I'm happy with me sort of coloured pencil sketch, more or less.
Yeah, it's really looking like him now as well.
Yeah. And I'm just going in with a black. I quite often use graphite, but I've run out of graphite, so this is just a straightforward black pencil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have about 28 minutes left. I think you've achieved quite a lot in that time. Yeah.
And hopefully get a little bit of shading on and things in that time.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. What I do find, or what I try not to do rather, is get too hung up. I mean, if little bits are incorrect, or I think, I should have changed that, or that should be a different shape. If I am going to take a drawing further later, if it's for a portfolio piece, or if it's like a sketch as part of a commission for a client, I'm quite happy if I can get a sketch to about 75% of where I want it to be, because I know I can scan it into Photoshop and I can noodle around a little bit, make some tweaks, and get it that extra 25% perfect to where I want it to be.
Gotcha. So when you're taking it further than paper, that's when you'll maybe stop at 75% and scan.
I mean, a lot of sketches. I mean, a lot of the things I post on Instagram and that. I mean, they're destined to always remain sketches, and I probably won't take them any further. But if I were, I did a Brad Pitt the other day, for instance. There's probably little things about that I'd want to tweak, and I kind of sort of flip things a lot. It's different. I hold things up to the light a lot and flip them over, because if you flip a drawing, you can instantly see all the mistakes in it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's definitely a useful tool. But I think that the fact that you do leave so many at that sketch stage means you can knock so many of these out. I see your habit. You're producing these and posting them constantly.
Not really. You know what it is? It's the reason I post so many sketches is I've got a really short attention span, and I really wish I had the kind of focus and discipline to actually take them further and actually sort of ink and colour a lot more of the sketches that I do, because I've got so many where I would love to make them into portfolio pieces, but I just can't either get busy with commission work or stuff like that, or I kind of just think, my head is turned by a different photograph, and I make a sketch of that instead. But yeah, I like to draw the things that I love. I love the 80s movies and stuff, and so I follow a lot of these pages and a lot of kind of movie stills pop up on my feed, and I think, I'll have that. I'll either save it or I'll screen grab it, something like that. And again, that's the beauty of just having an iPad or whatever on the drawing board.
Yeah.
And just very, very quickly use that as reference. And
it's great, isn't it?
All right.
There we go.
Totally. Right. So.
So if I said to you, if someone was listening to this and they wanted to be a caricature artist, what do they do? How do they perfect that skill? How can you get employed doing that? And what's some of the challenges and some of the ways that you've overcome those things?
Yeah. Well, it kind of all starts with practice and repetition, like a lot of things, you know. I started out, I mean, I got interested in caricature in the late 90s.
Okay.
And I would draw celebrities from magazines, things like that. I had a few sort of early paid jobs, which I look back at the work I did now and I kind of cringe. But a real turning point for me, no, seriously.
We all do.
I've got some magazines. Yeah. I suppose if we didn't do that, there'd be no growth, so it's a good thing.
Exactly.
You look back at your old work. But for me, the turning point came when I drew theme park caricatures. I used to work at Alton Towers theme park. I did about 3 or 4 summers there when I was kind of 24, 25, 26, just cranking out just thousands and thousands of drawings every day, not every day, over the course of a season, or a few seasons. Hundreds and hundreds of people over the space of summer. And you have no choice but to kind of improve. Your eye gets better. You learn what to look for. And I'll tell you, after a few months of doing that, something just clicked, and I kind of started to see people as I want to draw them. And that wasn't an automatic thing when I first started. I found it really hard to kind of see that caricature in my mind's eye that I wanted to draw.
Right.
I remember one very early one was these 2 twin boys who were about 6 or 7 years old, and like I thought, well, you know, what on earth am I going to do here? It was so difficult, and I kind of drew it, and it didn't look anything alike at all. One looked about 4, the other one looked about 44, and I don't know how I got away with it, why the parents took it, but I mean they did.
All right.
But then after a while, I kind of realised, that every face is just different, you know. And so instead of trying to draw these 2 kids looking the same, you know, as my logical brain told me, twins look the same, so you must draw them the same. If you just forget that and just draw what's in front of you, it's way easier. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it took me a while to kind of find me groove and start to develop the eye for caricature. But I came on leaps and bounds doing theme park work just because of the sheer volume.
Of course.
You know, it was a real trial by fire. So I mean, if you can get a job doing theme park work or some sort of retail where you are in front of people and you're just cranking them out, you'll come on a lot faster than just sitting at home drawing celebrities from a magazine, you know. But it is, I mean, it all boils down to observation, and it's like you're kind of taking reality, but you're sort of tweaking it. Somebody's made a quote a few years ago, I forget who it was, that said a caricature is just you with the volume turned up. That's a good way of looking at it, I think. Sort of use that one a lot. Right, so okay, how we're doing here?
We've got 20 minutes left.
So we're kind of 20 minutes, cool.
Yeah.
So
it's all.
I'm just going to back in some of these curls. Sorry.
It kind of sounds like, you know, in the early days, you know, you spend a lot of time trying to look at someone and trying to figure out where you can take advantage of some of their features and stuff. But then as time went on, and this practice is making this a permanent skill for you, then you almost don't even need to look anymore. You're just sort of seeing it. I know that sounds a little bit pretentious, but you can almost see it immediately, you know. And it's similar to kind of like now. I mean, you're concentrating on chatting to me, but this is sort of happening almost like passively for you now, which is pretty cool.
I mean, if thanks. If I am performing live, I kind of, people sit down, I do take a couple of seconds, and I kind of think, right, okay, and the design of a person kind of clicks in my head quite quickly, and I think, right, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and I just head down that and I get down to it. So I'm not always kind of looking at the person all the time, getting bogged down in details. Certainly with live work, it's about getting the laughs as well. You know, if I think someone's got little beady eyes, I'll kind of just draw 2 black dots. And a number of times I do that, and like the audience behind bursts out laughing. You know, because it's their eyes, but it's like taken to ridiculous, you know, graphic simplification kind of thing.
Wow.
Right. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of shading here, because I can see like the light is falling on this side of Gina's face. So I'm going to do a bit of darker shading on this side. And
So you just mentioned sort of like an audience in these live shows.
Yes.
What is this? Could you talk a little bit more about it? What kind of live events are you working on?
Well, I mean, my diary is looking pretty busy from the end of June onwards,
Okay.
and I've, it's mainly weddings.
Okay.
Certainly in the summertime as well. I thought caricatures at all events, but it's a lot of it is weddings. And as you can imagine, a lot of them have been postponed. And
it could be a few backlogged events coming up.
I mean, I've had kind of some weddings and some weddings sort of postponed 3 or 4 times. They get a new date and then new restrictions are announced and they can't do it. And
right.
But yeah, basically, it's me. I've got like a French easel that I set up.
Nice.
I still work traditionally. You get a lot of live caricatures who are starting to perform digitally now. They'll show up with an iPad. They've got a big
projector or something, I suppose.
Yeah, they've got or like a sort of big flat screen TV and all that sort of stuff. Something I'd like to explore in the future, but at the moment I'm still traditional.
Well, perhaps there's some sort of Frankenstein setup which is similar to what we've got going on now, right? Where there's a camera pointing over your shoulder and projecting.
Maybe, yeah. It's just like a really sort of fun, entertaining thing, And in normal times, I have a lot of these bookings. I used to travel up and down the country, not so much anymore because obviously I've got a family and things now, so I don't like to go too far. But it's just great fun, It's you chuck alcohol into the mix, and it's a lot of fun for folk,
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And you get to go home with a drone, and it's a kind of unique memento of a special occasion.
Nice.
I see the hairs of it here as well, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's working really well now. That's great.
Yeah, I'm not. Even at this stage, I'm not worrying too much about making a mess. I mean,
yeah.
You've probably seen it. I don't think I picked up the eraser once. I don't tend to erase anything.
I just kind
of, if something's not where it ought to be, I kind of just go over it. Unless it's something that's really bugging us, I will get the eraser out and kind of. There you go.
But I suppose that's helped by the fact that you're starting with these sort of coloured pencils as well, and they sort of hide a little bit better underneath these darker lines.
I mean, once you get this graphite here, it's a 2H. It's not I would usually use a much thicker, darker graphite, like an 8B or a 9B, which would make it look really sort of dark and inky on the camera. A lot of artists beat themselves up if they don't get something first time or don't get something quite right. Yeah. Believe you me, I have an awful lot of sketches where I think that is utter garbage, and I'm not sharing that with anyone. It's going either in the bin or it's going in the drawer, and I'm never showing it to anyone ever again. Yeah. I post some half decent stuff on Instagram and whatnot, stuff that I'm kind of happy with. Mm-hmm. But for every half decent thing I post, there's a lot that's total rubbish. Right. And you've got to just sort of let that go and accept that not everything is going to be a masterpiece. Absolutely. You're going to have rubbish drawings. You're going to have days where you don't feel like you can draw, and I have them a lot. I sort of sit at the drawing board and I think, man, it's not firing on all cylinders today. I just it's finally happened. I've completely forgotten how to draw here. Yeah. But then, the trick is just to hang your tools up and accept that you're having a bad day and come back to it again some other time. Little creative you do
block.
Find that exactly. You do find that you haven't forgotten how to draw. You're just having an off day. That's probably all I would do with the pencil. And what I sometimes do as well is like a little bit of grey shading in over the top as well, just to round out some of that shade and kind of smooth it all together. Nice.
So do you have any plans for the future, Mike, in terms of where this caricaturing might progress or different side projects or any cool, interesting things that's kind of like on your mind that you want to accomplish or work on? Or
at any one time I have a list of portfolio pieces that I want to do, that I want to work on. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, it's almost always to do with the things that I love, the movies that I love, and TV shows and just pop culture and things. You know, like I said, I love pop culture from the 80s and early 90s and whatnot. Like I've never drawn Vic and Bob. Like I love Reeves and Mortimer, and I'd love to do some of their characters and things. And,
yeah.
I've got a huge list of things.
Shooting stars.
Shooting stars, yeah. Smell of, you know. It's I mean, I first became aware of those guys with Vickery's Big Night Out, and that's how old? 30 years old this year, or 31 years old maybe. That's absolutely terrifying to me. But to get back to your question, Scott, I don't have a huge, I must achieve this ambition. I've kind of got a lot of things in the back of my head. Like I think I'd love to have a book of me artwork one day, you know, put out a book. I would like to delve more into actually teaching this, you know, like either via online tutorials or maybe when things get back to normal, kind of setting up workshops, things like that, because there seems to be a lot of demand for it. Like I get a lot of messages just saying how do you do it, and there seems to be a genuine interest. People want to know the secrets.
Yeah. I think it'll be a crime if you don't teach your skills to others.
You reckon? Yeah. That's kind of you to say, man. Thank you. I mean, it is something that, you know, it's not any kind of a dark art where you know, it can't be taught. I mean, it all starts with observation. You know, if you can look at a person, and you can tap into those things that need exaggerating and kind of, and again that comes from experience, and it comes from drawing an awful lot of faces. If you can get to that stage, it just becomes a matter of doing it over and over and kind of what am I trying to say? I mean, there's
that part's difficult to teach, isn't it? That's the only unfortunate thing. You can only do so much.
It is. If you're not prepared to actually get out there and sort of draw people and get experienced, then you're only going to get so far. Yeah, and that's what I think. That's where a lot of people possibly jack it in. You know, in fact, I came close to quitting quite early on with the live work. I mean, the theme park stuff. I nearly jacked it in after a couple of months. I thought, oh man, it's too hard. It's not for me. But then something kind of clicked and
hit through that barrier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're just about done with this. I mean, it's
nice.
As far as
we've got 3 minutes left, but you can call it any time, Mike.
Right. Well, I'll stop it there, but I'll just talk about kind of a couple of things that I would maybe change.
Yeah, go for it.
So that's okay. Yeah, I'm more or less happy with that. It's just 50 or 60% happy with that.
Really? Okay.
I am. Yeah. I think what I would do is I can already say I'd probably make these sort of jowly cheeks a bit kind of wider. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But a lot of the time with these sketches of celebrities and things, I'll chuck it in the drawer and kind of thing. I may revisit that at some point. I think that's possibly where I would leave that Gene Wilder.
That looks fantastic, Mike. I can't believe that you've done that and you've smashed it in less than 45 minutes. This is usually a time where you can kind of plug. Where can people find you, or where do you like people to find you? What sort of social media platforms and stuff like that?
Instagram is probably the one. Which is Instagram.com, Mike Giblin Illustration. It's where I post a lot of these sketches. Yeah. The occasional finished commission piece, something like that. Mm-hmm. I started to do time lapses and things. Lots of folk are interested in seeing the time lapse stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to do more and more process and kind of showing people how I work these things out.
Well, you've done some great stuff here. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Mike. It's amazing. So, speak to you soon, and I hope that you get to teach these skills to people because they deserve it. Cheers, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Have a good evening, all right?
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.